Snow is falling in downtown Chicago like the sky decided to grieve with her. Zoe Carter stands on the stone steps of St. Augustine's Chapel in a deep burgundy wedding dress, off-shoulder satin with gold embroidery running down the skirt like flames. Her hair is pressed into silk waves, pearl pins glittering at the crown. She looks like she was built for a fairy tale. She feels like she's standing inside a nightmare. Her phone screen glows cold in her hands. 200 people are inside. Her dad is in the front row holding a handkerchief. Her childhood friends saved seats with gold ribbons. A 4-tiered vanilla cake sits on a table near the altar with their initials piped in cursive. His entire side of the chapel is empty. Her best friend Camille, rocking a forest green bridesmaid dress, grabs her arm. She is wearing a chunky gold chain necklace and has her locks pinned up sharp. Her voice drops low. Z, listen to me. He is not coming. He texted 20 minutes ago that he was on his way. That was 20 minutes ago. The phone vibrates. Zoe's whole body flinches. It is not Marcus. It is Marcus's brother, Dre. She opens it. I'm so sorry, Zoe. He packed a bag 3 days ago. He's been staying at someone else's place. I didn't know until this morning. I'm so sorry. The snow keeps falling. Zoe does not cry. She does not scream. She just reads the message again like maybe the words will rearrange themselves into something that makes sense. They do not. Camille catches her when her knees give out. The two of them sit down right there on the stone steps in the snow, satin and sequins against cold concrete, and Camille wraps both arms around her while Zoe stares at nothing. For years. For entire years of her life. Gone in a text from someone else's phone. That night, Zoe cuts the bow off the back of the dress with kitchen scissors. She books a one-way flight to Los Angeles with her credit card. She turns off every notification on her phone except Camille's number. She is not running. She is just done standing still. 3 weeks later, Zoe is standing outside a modern glass house in Silver Lake, Los Angeles. The hills roll behind it, golden brown from the dry season. She is wearing wide-leg black cargo pants, a fitted white cropped turtleneck, and worn-in white sneakers. Her hair is in 2 big puffs. She looks like someone who stopped caring what anyone thought and accidentally became cooler for it. She checks the address on her phone. This is the place. The listing said, live-in companion and helper for a child, 7, private residence. Confidential. Compensation negotiable. She figured, new city, free housing, no past. Sure. The door opens. He is tall. Dark olive skin, sharp cheekbones, a jawline that looks like it was drawn by someone who was angry at the time. He is wearing a fitted navy crewneck, dark gray slim trousers, and no shoes, which somehow makes him look more powerful, not less. His black hair is slightly overgrown, pushed back like he forgot to cut it months ago and stopped caring. His eyes are dark and completely unreadable. You're here for the position. Not a question. Not a greeting. Zoe Carter. She does not extend her hand. I do not cook, clean, or perform emotional labor for adults. Just so we're clear from jump. Something moves in his expression. Not a smile. Not quite. Nate Voss. He steps back from the door. My daughter doesn't speak much. The last 2 people I hired lasted 6 weeks combined. The pay is $12,000 a month, room and board included. Zoe's face stays neutral. That is more than she made in 4 months at her old marketing job. When do I start? Now. He walks inside. She follows. The house is cold and achingly beautiful. Polished concrete floors. Walls of windows facing the hills. Everything is muted tones and expensive minimalism. There is no warmth anywhere. Not in the art on the walls, not in the furniture, not in the man leading her up the open staircase. Then she sees her. A little girl, maybe 7, sitting at the top of the stairs in dinosaur print pajamas. Dark curly hair all over the place, big honey brown eyes, a stuffed elephant tucked under one arm. She is staring down at Zoe with the cautious, ancient expression of a child who has learned that new people always leave. Zoe does not wave. Does not do the big smile thing. She just looks back at her, level and honest, the way you look at someone you respect. Nate's voice is flat. That's my daughter, Iris. She will probably not speak to you for weeks. I need you to be okay with that. I'm good with silence, Zoe says. People only talk when they feel safe. I'll wait. Nate looks at her. Really looks at her. Like he is trying to figure out what angle she is working. Iris blinks once from the top of the stairs. Then, barely above a whisper, "Hi." Zoe feels it like a door opening inside her chest. Something warm in a place that has been very cold for a very long time. "Hey," she says back. Soft. Real. Nate exhales once through his nose. He shows Zoe to her room, a huge space with a terrace and floor-to-ceiling windows. Then he stops at the hallway and turns back. No personal questions. No promises to Iris that you cannot keep. And do not go into the room at the end of the hall. Ever. Zoe raises an eyebrow. What's in there? That is a personal question. He walks away. Zoe stands alone in the enormous house, listening to the hum of the city below, wondering how she got here. Wondering what is behind that door. Wondering why, for the first time in 3 weeks, she does not feel completely hollow. From somewhere down the hall, she hears a small sound. She peeks out. Iris is standing in the doorway, still holding her elephant, watching Zoe with those cautious eyes. "Are you going to leave too?" Iris whispers. Zoe's throat tightens. She does not promise. She does not lie. She just says the only thing that is true, "Not tonight." Iris thinks about this. Then she disappears back into her room. And somewhere in the house, a door closes. Behind it, barely audible, the sound of a man who has not cried in a very long time trying very hard not to start. Cliffhanger, who was Nate Voss before the silence? And what is behind that locked door at the end of the hall? 6 weeks in and the Silver Lake house no longer feels like a museum. It feels like a place 3 broken people are learning to exist in. Zoe has figured out the rhythms. Iris wakes up at 6:47 every single morning and goes straight to the kitchen, not to eat, but to draw at the counter. She fills sketchbooks with messy crayon drawings of animals, of stars, of a woman with big puffs in her hair. Zoe noticed that one. Did not say anything. Just started making hot chocolate every morning at 6:45 and leaving it on the counter without being asked. By week 2, Iris started drinking it. By week 4, Iris started talking. Just small things. "I like the way you fold paper. This crayon smells like strawberries but it is red, which is confusing." But talking. Real talking. Nate is harder. He moves through the house like he is apologizing for taking up space. He works from the home studio, which Zoe has figured out is a music production space, not an office. She can hear beats through the walls sometimes at 1 a.m., bass heavy and restless, like someone trying to say something they cannot figure out how to word. He wears the same uniform every day, black fitted joggers, a washed-out vintage band hoodie, and whatever slides are closest to the door. He looks like a man who used to care deeply about what he looked like and gave up all at once. He is almost never in the same room as Zoe unless it is accidental. But he always drinks the coffee she leaves outside his studio door. Tonight something is different. Zoe is in the kitchen at 11 p.m. She is wearing an oversized gray university hoodie, biker shorts, and fuzzy socks with little frogs on them. Her hair is wrapped up in a silk scarf. She is stress-eating crackers and staring at a text from Camille. Zoe. I heard something and I don't know how to say this. Call me. She has not called back yet. Footsteps on concrete. Nate stops in the kitchen doorway. He looks wrecked. Dark circles, jaw tight, hoodie sleeves pushed up showing the faint lines of an old tattoo on his left forearm, a phrase in script that Zoe cannot read from here. I was going to get water, he says. Kitchen's public property. He gets a glass. Fills it. Does not leave. Zoe looks up. You want to say something? I heard Iris laughing today. His voice is careful. Like it might crack if he is not precise. Actual laughing. I haven't heard that in 14 months. Zoe sets down her crackers. She's a funny kid. She told me a joke today about a dinosaur that took 11 sentences to set up and had no punchline. I laughed anyway. Something in Nate's face shifts. Not a smile. Something deeper. More painful. Why are you here? He asks. Actually here. In this city. In this house. Zoe meets his eyes. The same reason you're awake at 11 p.m. drinking tap water. Because I was somewhere else and it exploded. Silence. You were supposed to get married. It is not a question. He must have found something. The internet, maybe, or Camille's public Instagram post from that day. Zoe's jaw tightens. He left. For years, a venue deposit, and a custom dress. He left 3 days before and let me find out through his brother while I was standing in the snow. The air gets very still. I'm sorry. And it does not sound like something people say automatically. It sounds like he means it from somewhere specific. I'm over it, Zoe says, which they both know is about 40% true. Nate sets down his glass. Iris's mom didn't die in an accident. He says it to the counter, not to Zoe. She left. 14 months ago. Packed her things while Iris was at school and texted me from the road. He pauses. Iris still checks the front door every day at 4 p.m. Because that is when her mom used to come home. The kitchen feels like it has gotten smaller. Zoe says nothing for a moment. Then, she leaves a pair of shoes by the door. Nate looks up. Iris. There's always a tiny pair of sneakers at the front door. I thought it was just a kid thing. But they're not her everyday shoes. Zoe stops. They're too nice. She's keeping them ready. In case. Nate's face does something complicated and private. His jaw works. He looks at the ceiling for a second. Yeah, he says. Just that. They stay in the kitchen for another hour. Not talking much. Just existing near each other without the armor for one unguarded night. It is the most honest Zoe has felt since Chicago. 3 days later, Camille calls again. Zoe. I need you to hear this sitting down. Zoe sits on the terrace of her room, legs up on the railing, the city blinking below. Tell me. Marcus wasn't just somewhere else. He was with someone else. For a long time. Camille's voice breaks. Zoe, it was Priya. Your maid of honor. I saw them together last week. They're living together. The city keeps blinking. Zoe stares at it for a very long time. Her maid of honor. The girl who helped her pick the dress. Who cried during the vows rehearsal. Who held her hand in the snow while she read that text. All of it a performance. All of it a lie. Zoe does not cry. She sets the phone down on the terrace railing and stares at the horizon until her eyes stop burning. Then she hears small footsteps. Iris appears in the doorway of the terrace in her dinosaur pajamas, elephant tucked under her arm, eyes sleepy. You look like how I feel when I miss my mom. Zoe pulls in a breath. Come here. Iris climbs into the chair beside her, and they sit together watching the city like two people who have both been left by someone they trusted completely. It gets less loud, Iris says. Zoe looks at her. The missing? Iris nods very seriously. It doesn't go away. But it gets less loud. 7 years old and she already knows things most adults never figure out. Zoe reaches over and squeezes her small hand. From inside the house, a long and devastating chord from a piano drifts through the window. Then another. Low, searching notes that sound like an apology to no one and everyone. Zayd is playing. Zoe listens to him play in the dark and feels something shift inside her. Something she was not expecting and is not ready for. Cliffhanger, Zoe just found out her betrayal goes deeper than she thought. And Nate is starting to feel like the only real thing in a world full of people who perform honesty. 3 months in and the house has a heartbeat now. Iris draws at the counter every morning. Zoe makes hot chocolate. Nate comes out of the studio for dinner exactly 3 times a week because Zoe started leaving Iris's drawings outside his studio door with a sticky note that said, "She made this while you were invisible." He started coming to dinner after that. Nobody talked about it. The 3 of them eat together now. Iris carries the conversation almost entirely by describing things that happened in her sketchbook like they are real news events. Nate listens to every word she says with the focused intensity of someone memorizing a language. Zoe watches him do this and feels something in her chest she is not naming. She has rules. She made them on the flight to LA and they are still technically in effect. No feelings for unavailable men. No building a life inside someone else's wreckage. No getting attached to a situation that is, by contract, temporary. The rules are losing. Tonight there is a gala. Nate's music label is hosting a benefit in Beverly Hills and he has to go. He comes downstairs at 8 p.m. and Zoe forgets to finish her sentence. He is wearing a tailored black suit with a barely there sheen to the fabric. No tie. Top button open. His hair is pushed back and for the first time she can see the full clean lines of his face. He looks like someone who used to be famous and decided to stop performing. He looks stunning. You clean up, Zoe says, very neutrally, from the couch where she is wearing a faded band tee and joggers and holding a book she has not read one word of. You look comfortable, he says back, with zero judgment, which somehow lands worse. Then he stops. You should come. Zoe blinks. That's not my thing. Iris is at a sleepover. You have a free night. You've been in this house for 3 months and you've gone exactly nowhere. I go to the grocery store. That does not count. I go to the park with Iris. Still does not count. He is looking at her like this is obvious. You came to Los Angeles. You should see it. Zoe stares at him. I don't have anything to wear to a Beverly Hills gala. He looks at her for a long second. I'll wait. She goes upstairs and stands in front of her closet for 4 minutes actively arguing with herself. Then she puts on the only nice thing she packed, a sleek black midi skirt with a slit up the side, a silky deep emerald halter top, and strappy black heels she has carried across the country without wearing once. She lets her puffs down into a full halo of curls and puts on gold hoops the size of her fist. She comes downstairs. Nate looks at her the way someone looks at something they did not expect to be beautiful. He recovers fast. Good. Let's go. The gala is everything Zoe expected: chandeliers, black dresses, the kind of air that costs money. Nate stays close to her in a way that is not quite protective and not quite casual. He introduces her to nobody as anything in particular and she appreciates that more than a title would have felt. At some point between the speeches and the string quartet, she finds herself near the bar and he finds her there. You hate this, he says. I hate the part where everyone is talking about what they do instead of who they are. What would you ask instead? What's the last thing that made you feel something real? She glances at him sideways. Your turn. He is quiet for a moment. Iris laughed so hard last week she got hiccups and then got mad at me for making her laugh. That was real. Zoe smiles. Actually smiles. It catches her off guard. Nate is watching her smile like he is studying something rare and fragile. You should do that more, he says. Do what? Look like you're actually here. The air between them goes warm and dangerous. Then someone grabs Nate's arm. A woman, tall, sleek, wearing a white cutout gown and the specific confidence of someone who knows they are a disruption. Nate. I didn't know you were back in spaces like this. His entire face closes. A switch goes off. Renee. Zoe watches his jaw go tight as cable wire. Renee looks at Zoe the way people look at something they are deciding is not a threat. And who is this? Zoe says, calm as concrete. Renee smiles with her teeth. Cute. She turns back to Nate. We should catch up. There are things we should talk about. About Iris. No, Nate says. One flat word. Renee's smile doesn't move. She glances at Zoe again, this time with something sharper in it. Careful with him, she says, soft enough to sound friendly. He is really good at making people feel like they matter. She drifts back into the crowd. Zoe looks at Nate. His face is concrete. Who is she? He picks up his drink. Iris's mother. Everything goes quiet except the string quartet. She did not move to another country. She is right here, in Beverly Hills, in a white gown, talking about catching up. Nate. Zoe's voice is careful. What does she want with Iris? He looks at her and for the first time since she has known him he looks something close to scared. She filed for custody last week. He says it like he has been holding it in his chest for days. My lawyer called this morning. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know what to tell Iris. Zoe sets her glass down. You tell me everything, she says. Right now. From the beginning. Cliffhanger, Iris's mother is not gone. She is here, she wants her daughter back, and she is looking at Zoe like a problem she already knows how to solve. The custody hearing is in 6 weeks. The Silver Lake house does not feel like a home anymore. It feels like a countdown. Nate tells Zoe everything in the car ride home from the gala. His voice is flat and controlled the whole time, which is somehow worse than if he had yelled. Renee left because she said she could not do it anymore. The long hours he worked building the label, the way he poured everything into music and left nothing for the marriage, the suffocating stillness of being someone's wife when that someone did not know how to be present. She texted him from a rest stop off Interstate 10 that she was done. She drove to her sister's place in Scottsdale and did not look back. For 14 months, she sent Iris exactly 4 birthday cards and 0 visits. Now she wants 50-50 custody. She has a new partner, a stable address in Beverly Hills, and a lawyer who is very good at making absent mothers sound like women in recovery. Nate's hands are tight on the steering wheel the whole time he talks. When he finishes, Zoe looks straight ahead at the highway and says, she is using Iris to come back to you. He does not answer. Nate. That is not a question. I know what she is doing. His jaw works. But Iris asks about her. Still. Every few weeks she draws a picture of the 4 of us, like a family, and leaves it on the kitchen counter. She wants a mom. He exhales hard. How do I tell her the truth about someone she still loves? Zoe looks at the side of his face. This man who spent 14 months being a wall so his daughter would not fall. This man who plays piano at midnight because he ran out of words during the day. You don't poison it, Zoe says. You just protect her. And you tell the truth when she's ready, not when you are. He glances at her. How do you know how to do that? Because someone did it wrong for me and I spent years fixing it. He looks back at the road. Something in the car shifts, warm and unbearable. Zoe. His voice is different now. Lower. I need to ask you something and I need you to answer me honestly. Okay. Are you planning to leave? After this. When the custody thing settles. When whatever you came here to figure out is figured out. The city lights slide past the windows. I don't know, she says. Which is the most honest answer she has. He nods once. Like he expected that and is filing it somewhere it will hurt later. 2 weeks pass. Renee escalates. She shows up at Iris's school to pick her up, which she is not authorized to do. The school calls Nate. He gets there in 12 minutes. Iris is standing in the hallway holding her backpack with both hands, looking between her father and her mother like she is watching two tectonic plates and waiting to see which one moves. Zoe is in the car. She sees all of it through the windshield. Renee sees her too. The next morning, Zoe gets a message from a number she does not know. You should know what you are actually doing there. He does this. He finds someone warm and uses them to fill what is missing, and then when it gets complicated he pulls back. You will be out of that house in 2 months. I was there for 4 years. Ask him about Nashville. Zoe reads it 3 times. Then she walks to the studio door and knocks. Nate opens it. He is in a black hoodie and gray sweats, headphones around his neck. The studio behind him is dim and warm, walls covered in acoustic foam and handwritten notes. What happened in Nashville? Zoe asks. His face goes very still. She told you. She messaged me. He steps back from the door. An invitation. Zoe walks in. He sits on the edge of the production desk and looks at the floor. Nashville was before Iris. Early in our marriage. I got an offer. Huge label. Residency. A year in Tennessee with full studio access. He looks up. I took it without asking her. I just told her we were going. She came because she loved me. And I spent that year so consumed with the work that I forgot she existed. He stops. She told me after Iris was born that Nashville was when she stopped trusting me. I just didn't listen. Zoe looks at him for a long time. So she is not wrong, Zoe says. She is just late. Yeah. And you're scared that I'm going to decide the same thing she decided. He looks at her. Aren't you? The studio is very small. The distance between them is almost nothing. I'm scared of different things than she was, Zoe says. Like what? Like building something that matters and having someone walk away from it. Again. Her voice does not shake. She has practiced keeping it steady for months. I don't know how to protect myself from that and also be here the way Iris needs me to be. The way you need me to be. She stops. So I am telling you right now that I'm all in for this custody fight. For Iris. Whatever you need, I am here. She does not finish the sentence with the part that costs her the most. She does not say, and I don't know how to stop what is happening between us and I am terrified that you don't either. But he hears it. She can tell by the way he looks at her. The lawyer thinks Iris should speak to a judge, Nate says quietly. A private interview. Just Iris and a family court evaluator. To say what she wants. What does Iris want? She wants everyone to stop being sad. His voice breaks on the last word. Just barely. She told me that. Daddy, I just want everyone to stop being so sad. She is 7 years old and she is managing our emotions. Zoe closes her eyes for 1 second. Then she makes a decision. I'm going to talk to your lawyer, she says. I have documentation. 14 months of care logs, school pickups, medical appointments, all of it. I have been keeping records since week 2 because I have been ghosted by someone I trusted and I know what a paper trail is worth. She meets his eyes. I will give all of it. Whatever it takes to keep her safe. Nate stares at her. Zoe. His voice is rough. That's your job, security. If this resolves, you don't have a reason to stay. I know. He looks at her like she just said something in a language he forgot he spoke. Cliffhanger, Zoe just put herself on the line for Iris. But Renee is not done. And somewhere in the evidence Zoe is about to hand over, there is something that could change everything. The hearing is on a Tuesday in March. Zoe sits in the hallway outside the courtroom in a deep burgundy blazer over a white fitted top, wide-leg black trousers, and simple gold jewelry. Her curls are out and settled. She looks calm. She is not calm. She handed the care logs to Nate's lawyer 6 days ago. 14 months of records in a color-coded folder. The lawyer looked at it, then looked at her, and said, "You did this on your own?" Zoe said, "I know what it looks like when someone might need to prove they were there." Nate came out of the courtroom at noon. His navy suit was slightly rumpled. His eyes found hers across the hallway immediately, like she was a fixed point he had been navigating toward all morning. "She withdrew," he says. Zoe stands. "Renee?" Her lawyer advised her that the documentation was substantial and the judge was not going to rule in her favor without demonstrated engagement. She settled for supervised visitation. Quarterly. He stops. Iris gets to stay. Zoe exhales. It comes out of her like something she has been holding since Chicago. Nate crosses the hallway in 3 steps and pulls her into a hug that is nothing like what employers and employees do. It is the kind of hug that happens when 2 people have been pretending not to need each other for months and finally stop pretending. She lets herself hold on. That evening, the 3 of them eat dinner at the kitchen counter. Iris made the table centerpiece, which is a crayon drawing of a lion, an elephant, and 2 tall people holding hands. She placed it in the center very seriously and then sat down and started eating like she had not just documented the entire situation. After dinner, Iris takes Nate's hand and Zoe's hand and swings between them down the hallway to her room. She insists on both of them doing bedtime. Nate reads the chapter. Zoe does the voices. Iris falls asleep with her stuffed elephant and a small, satisfied expression like someone who got exactly what she negotiated for. In the hallway, the door barely closed, they stand there in the quiet. She planned that, Zoe says. Obviously. Nate is almost smiling. She has been planning that for weeks. Silence. So, Zoe says. So, he says back. My contract is technically up at the end of the month. I know. I could renegotiate. You could. He turns to face her in the dim hallway, the city light coming through the skylight above them. Or we could stop pretending this is still a job. Zoe looks at him. What is it then? You tell me. She thinks about Chicago. About standing in the snow in a dress that cost everything she had, holding a phone that broke her life in half. She thinks about how terrifying it was to get on that plane not knowing what she was going toward. She thinks about a little girl who left sneakers by the door and still believed something good would come through it. She thinks about herself at the beginning. How she swore off attachment. How very badly she failed at that rule. I'm scared, she says. Me too. I don't have a good track record with this. Neither do I, and Nashville is proof of that. So what do we do with that? He reaches out and tucks one curl behind her ear. His hand stays at her jaw for a moment, careful, like he is asking a question with his touch instead of his words. Like he has learned that some things need to be asked slowly. We do it differently, he says. We say the hard stuff out loud before it becomes the reason someone leaves. He pauses. We don't disappear on each other. Zoe looks at his face in the half-dark. This man who played piano at midnight because he had no other language for what he felt. This man who stood at the door every morning watching his daughter grow in the direction of the light, terrified and grateful. Okay, she says. But if you ever pull a Nashville on me, I will not text you from a rest stop. I will tell you directly and loudly in this kitchen. Something breaks open in his expression. Not the careful, controlled version of him. The real one. He laughs. Actual, unguarded laughter in the hallway of the Silver Lake house. Zoe grins. It reaches her eyes this time. A small sound from behind Iris's door. They both freeze. Then they hear it clearly. Iris, giggling into her pillow, because that kid was absolutely not asleep. Nate leans his forehead against Zoe's. She is impossible. She gets it from somewhere. He pulls back enough to look at her. Stay. One word. No conditions attached. Not a contract, not a role, not a temporary arrangement. Just a person asking another person to stay. And for the first time since the snow in Chicago, Zoe Carter does not feel like someone waiting for the next thing to fall apart. She feels like someone who arrived. Yeah, she says. I'm staying. Down the hall, one tiny pair of sneakers sits by the front door. They have not moved in weeks. Not because someone is coming back. But because a little girl finally stopped waiting and started living. And in the morning, without saying anything about it, Iris moves them to the closet. She does not need them by the door anymore. The end.